Good evening. Thank you so much for joining me today. Tonight, I'd like to share a book with you and read you a couple of stories from this beautiful book of traditional Russian fairy tales reflected in lacquer miniatures. Russian lacquer art originated in the 1700s and is a traditional style of folk art that began as a form of icon painting. This book is especially precious to me because I bought it as a memento on a visit to the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg years ago. It had been one of my childhood dreams to visit that museum, and I would say it more than lived up to my hopes or expectations. So, just a beautiful, incredible place. It houses, I believe, the largest collection of paintings in the world. Only a small percentage of which are on permanent display. So, let's get started. Here you can see this beautiful spread of characters from the different fairy tales. I've always been intrigued by fairy tales and folk tales from different cultures. It seems like they hold some deep wisdom, and yet the stories are often very absurd and imaginative and entertaining. It's fascinating to see or hear which stories are passed down from generation to generation to generation. Here we have the table of contents. Tonight I plan to read The King of the Sea and Vasilisa the Wise, and Masha and the Bear. So we shall turn to page 34, which I believe is going to be this one. Yes. As you can see, it has this beautiful illustration of maidens bathing and a king and a queen. The king of the sea pulling the Tsar by his beard. And I'm not sure which one this depicts, but we will find out as we read. So, the King of the Sea and Vasilisa the Wise. Once upon a time, in a country far away, there lived a Tsar and a Tsarina who had no children. The Tsar went off on a long journey to distant lands, and while he was away, the Tsarina gave birth to a son, whom she called Ivan Sarvich, or Prince Ivan. The Tsar, however, did not know that he had become a father. He began his return journey, and as he approached his own country, the sun began to beat down, and the air was hot and dry. The Tsar was tormented by the thirst and would have given anything just for a drink. He looked around, and not far away he spotted a large lake. He rode down to the lake, jumped from his horse, lay down flat on the bank, and began to lap up the icy cold water. He drank and drank, never suspecting the trouble he was in, for the king of the sea had seized him by the beard. "Let me go," the Tsar begged. "No, I will not. How dare you drink my water without permission? I'll give you anything you ask, only let me go. Give me the thing that you do not know at home." The Tsar thought and thought. What was there at home that he did not know? He was sure that he knew everything, that everything was familiar, and so he agreed. He lifted his head, and his beard came free of the water. He got up, mounted his horse, and returned home. As he rode up, the Tsarina came out to meet him, holding their son. She was full of joy, but when he heard of his son's birth, the Tsar shed bitter tears. He told his wife what had happened to him, and they wept together. But there was nothing to be done. It's no use, as they say, crying over spilt milk. They went back to their life together. The prince seemed to grow as they watched, and before any time at all had passed, he was a fine young man. However long we keep him, we shall have to give him up in the end, the Tsar thought, and decided to have done with it. He took Ivan Tsarevich by the hand and led him straight to the fateful lake. "Search here for my ring," he told him. "I dropped it here yesterday." He left the prince alone and went back home. Ivan began looking for the ring. As he walked along the lakeshore, an old woman came from the opposite direction. "Where are you going, Ivan Tsarevich?" "Don't bother me, old witch. Be off with you. Things are bad enough already." "In that case, good day to you." The old woman walked away. Then Ivan Tsarevich thought better of what he had done. "Why was I rude to the old woman? I'll call her back. Old people can be quick-witted and cunning. She might tell me something useful." And he shouted after her, "Come back, good woman. Forgive my hasty words. I spoke out of vexation. My father left me here to search for his ring, and I cannot find it for all my looking." "It's not on account of a ring that you are here, Ivan Tsarevich. Your father has given you up to the king of the sea. The king will come out and take you back with him to his underwater kingdom." The prince burst into tears. "Don't despair, Ivan Tsarevich. Your luck may still change if you listen well to what an old woman tells you. Hide behind that currant bush and stay quiet. A dozen doves will land here, all beautiful maidens, and they will be followed by a 13th. All will go to bathe in the lake. While they're bathing, if you take the 13th shift, and be sure to keep it until she gives you her ring. If you fail, you will be lost forever. A high wall of stakes, fully 10 versts long, surrounds the king of the sea's palace, and on top of each stake is a head. One alone remains unoccupied. Don't let your head end up on it." Ivan Tsarevich thanked the old woman, got down behind the currant bush, and waited for what would happen. Suddenly, 12 doves came out of the air, and, as they touched the earth, they turned into beautiful maidens, each fairer in face and body than can be imagined or described. They shook off their dresses and entered the lake, where they splashed and played, laughed and sang. Soon a 13th dove flew down and turned into a beautiful maiden as it touched the ground. She threw the shift off her milk-white body and went to bathe. This maiden was fairer and lovelier than all the rest. For a long time, Ivan Sarvich was unable to tear his eyes away from her. He stared and stared, but then he remembered what the old woman had told him. He crept up and took her shift. The beautiful maiden came out of the water and could not find her shift. Someone must have taken it. All the maidens looked, but it was nowhere to be found. Search no more, dear sisters. Fly away home. It is my fault. I did not keep my eye on it, and I must take the blame. The beautiful maiden sisters struck the ground, turned back into doves, spread their wings, and flew away. Left alone, the maiden looked all around and said aloud, "Come out with my shift, whoever you are. If you are an old man, you will be like a father to me. If you are middle age, you will be a favorite brother. And if you are of my own age, you will be my dear sweetheart." As soon as the words were out, Ivan Sarvich showed himself. She gave him her gold ring and said, "Oh, Ivan Sarvich, why have you been so long in coming? The king of the sea is furious with you. There is the road that leads to the underwater kingdom. Follow it and don't be afraid. You will find me there too, for I am Vasilisa the Wise, daughter of the king of the sea." Vasilisa turned herself into a bird and flew off, leaving the prince alone. Ivan Sarvich made his way into the underwater kingdom. He saw that the light is the same there as with us. There are fields and meadows and green groves, and the sun shines warm. He presented himself to the king of the sea, and the king thundered at him, "Why have you been so long in coming? To make up for it, here is what you have to do. I have a piece of wasteland 30 versts long and 30 wide, full of pits, gullies, and sharp stones. Tomorrow I want to see it as flat as my hand, and sown with rye that by early morning has grown so high that a jackdaw can hide in it. And if you fail, your head will fly from your shoulders." Ivan Sarvich left the king of the sea and burst into tears. Vasilisa the Wise saw him from her room high in the palace and called to him, "Greetings, Ivan Sarvich. Why so miserable?" "How can I be anything else but miserable?" the prince replied. "The king of the sea has ordered me to fill in the pits and gullies, remove the stones, and sow the field with rye that by morning should be so high that a jackdaw can hide in it. That is no trouble. The trouble is yet to come. Lie down and sleep peacefully. In the morning everything will be as it should be." Ivan Sarvich went to bed, and Vasilisa the Wise came out onto the porch and shouted in a loud voice, "Hey, my loyal servants, level the deep pits, remove the sharp stones, and sow the field with rye, so that it ripens by morning." Ivan Sarvich awoke with the dawn. He looked out, and everything was done. No pits or gullies. The field was as smooth as your hand, and full of rye tall enough to hide a jackdaw. He went and reported to the king of the sea. "I thank you for that service," the king said. "Here is another task. I have 300 shocks, each containing 300 sheaves, all of fine corn. Take out all the corn down to the very last grain for me by tomorrow, but do not break up the shocks or take the sheaves apart. If you fail, your head will fly from your shoulders." "Yes, your majesty," Ivan Sarvich replied. Again he turned and went away in tears. "Why so miserable?" Vasilisa the Wise asked him. "How can I be anything else but miserable? The king of the sea has ordered me to collect all the corn in a single night without losing a single grain, breaking up the shocks, or taking the sheaves apart. That is no trouble. The trouble is yet to come. Lie down and sleep peacefully. In the morning, everything will be as it should be. Ivan Sarvich went to bed, and Vasilisa the Wise came out onto the porch and shouted in a loud voice, "Hey, you creeping ants! However many of you there are in the world, all come here and bring the corn from my father's shocks down to the very last grain." In the morning, the king of the sea summoned Ivan Sarvich. "Well, have you performed that task?" "I have, your majesty." "Let's go and see." They went to the threshing barn. All the shocks were still standing, whole and unbroken. They went to the granaries. All the bins were full to the brim with grain. "Thank you, son," said the king of the sea. "If you can make me a church of pure wax by tomorrow morning, that will be your last task." Again, Ivan Tsarevich went away with tears in his eyes. "Why so miserable?" Vasilisa the Wise asked him from her high window. "How can I be anything else but miserable? The king of the sea has ordered me to build a church of pure wax in a single night. That is no trouble. The trouble is yet to come. Lie down and sleep peacefully. In the morning, everything will be as it should be." Ivan Tsarevich went to bed, and Vasilisa the Wise came out onto the porch and shouted in a loud voice, "Hey, you busy bees! However many of you there are in the world, all come here and build a church out of pure wax by the morning." In the morning, Ivan Tsarevich awoke, looked out, and there was a church of pure wax. He went and reported to the king of the sea. "Thank you, Ivan Tsarevich. All the servants I have ever had, none has pleased me as greatly as you. For that you shall be my heir, the guardian of the whole realm, and choose any of my 13 daughters to be your wife." Ivan Tsarevich chose Vasilisa the Wise. They were married at once, and the feasting and celebrations went on for 3 whole days. After some time had passed, Ivan Tsarevich began to miss his parents and to long to see the Holy Land of Russia once more. "Why so miserable, Ivan Tsarevich?" "Oh, Vasilisa, I am missing my father and my mother. I want to go back to Holy Russia." "There we are. The trouble has come. If we leave, there will be a great hunt for us. The king of the sea will be furious and have us put to death. We shall have to be cunning." Vasilisa spat in 3 corners of their room, locked the door, and hurried off with Ivan Tsarevich in the direction of Holy Russia. Early the next day, messengers came to summon the young couple to the king of the sea. They knocked on the door and called out, "Wake up, arise. The king has summoned you." "It's still early. We haven't finished sleeping. Come back later, 1 drop of spit answered. The messengers went away, waited for an hour or 2, and then knocked again. "It's time to stop sleeping and get up." "Wait a little. We're getting up and dressing," the 2nd drop of spit replied. The messengers came back a 3rd time to say that the king was angry because they were taking so long. "We're just coming," the 3rd drop of spit answered. The messengers waited and waited. They knocked again, and when they got no response, they broke down the door and found the room empty. When they told the king that the young couple had fled, he flew into a rage and raised a great hue and cry for them. But Vasilisa the Wise and Ivan Tsarevich were already far away. They drove their swift-footed steeds on without pausing to rest. "Ivan Tsarevich, put your ear to the ground and listen whether the king of the sea has sent his people after us." Ivan Tsarevich leapt from his horse, put his ear to the ground, and said, "I can hear talking and the beat of hoofs." "They are coming after us," said Vasilisa the Wise, and instantly changed the horses into a green meadow, Ivan Sarvich into an old shepherd, and herself into a quietly grazing sheep. The pursuers rode up to them. "Hey, old shepherd, have you seen a fine young man and a beautiful girl ride by here?" "No, I have not, good sirs," Ivan Sarvich replied. "In the 40 years I have been tending my sheep here, not a single bird has flown by, nor a single beast run by." The pursuers turned back. "Your Majesty, we found no one on the road, and saw only an old shepherd tending a sheep." "Why didn't you seize them?" That was Ivan and Vasilisa, the king shouted, and sent his men out again. Meanwhile, Ivan Sarvich and Vasilisa the Wise were back on their horses and riding like the wind. "Ivan Sarvich, put your ear to the ground and listen whether the king of the sea has sent his people after us." Ivan Sarvich leapt from his horse, put his ear to the ground, and said, "I can hear talking and the beat of hoofs." "They are coming after us," said Vasilisa the Wise. She changed herself into a church, Ivan Sarvich into an old priest, and the horses into trees. The pursuers rode up to them. "Hey, father, have you seen a shepherd and a sheep go by here?" "No, I haven't, good sirs. In the 40 years I have been working in this church, not a single bird has flown by, nor a single beast run by." The pursuers turned back. "Your Majesty, we could not find the shepherd and the sheep anywhere. All that we saw on the way was a church with an old priest." "Why didn't you smash down the church and seize the priest?" That was Ivan and Vasilisa. The king of the sea fumed and mounted up himself to chase after Ivan Sarvich and Vasilisa the Wise. Meanwhile, they were even farther on. Again, Vasilisa the Wise said, "Ivan Sarvich, put your ear to the ground and listen whether the king of the sea has sent his people after us." Ivan Sarvich leapt from his horse, put his ear to the ground, and said, "I can hear talking and the beat of hoofs stronger than before. It's the king himself riding after us." Vasilisa the Wise turned the horses into a lake, herself into a duck, and Ivan Sarvich into a drake. The king of the sea rode up to the lake and immediately realized who the duck and drake really were. He struck the ground and turned himself into an eagle. The eagle tried to kill them, but could not manage it. Each time he plunged down on them, at the last instant they dived beneath the water. Again and again he attacked. Again and again they slipped away. In the end, the king roamed back to his underwater kingdom. Vasilisa the Wise and Ivan Sarvich waited a good while and then rode on to Holy Russia. Eventually, they came to Ivan Sarvich's own land. "Wait for me here in this little wood," he told Vasilisa the Wise. "I will go ahead and announce our arrival to father and mother. You will forget me, Ivan Sarvich." "No, I won't." "You will, Ivan Sarvich. Remember me at least when 2 doves start tapping on the window." Ivan Sarvich entered the palace. His parents saw him and rushed to embrace him. In his happiness, the prince forgot about Vasilisa the Wise. He lived 1 day with his father and mother, then a second, and on the 3rd, he began thinking of courting some princess. Vasilisa the Wise went into the town and took work with a woman who baked the communion bread. They began to prepare the host, and she took 2 small pieces of dough, fashioned them into doves, and put them into the oven. "Guess what will become of those doves, mistress?" What will become of them? We'll eat them, of course. No, you guessed wrong. Vasilisa the Wise opened the oven, flung the window wide, and in an instant the doves spread their wings, flew straight to the palace, and began to tap on the windows. Try as they might, the Tsar's servants could not drive them off. Then Ivan Sarvich remembered about Vasilisa the Wise. He sent messengers out in all directions to find her, and discovered her with the woman who baked the host. He took her by the hands, kissed her on the lips, and brought her to his mother and father. The young couple moved into the palace, and they all lived happily